It's a beautiful day to be a train conductor. Blue skies, fluffy little clouds, the satisfying toot of your train horn, a cozy little group of 5 human beings tied to the railroad tracks in front of you. Wait, 5 human beings tied to the tracks in front of you? You're way too close to stop in time, but luckily, there's a fork in the tracks just up ahead. By pulling a lever inside your train, you could change course and spare those 5 unfortunate souls. But that other path is blocked by a single person tied to the tracks. So now, if you pull the lever, it's like you're personally choosing to crush all the bones in that poor guy's body, rather than just letting momentum do its thing and watching helplessly as 5 people meet a very painful and messy end. So, what's the right thing to do? Hi, I'm Erica Brzozowski and welcome to Fast Guides, a study hall series that explores different college majors. Before you make your fateful choice to send between 1 and 5 people to mechanized death, let's explore a different philosophical predicament: whether or not a philosophy major is for you. See, all that business about human beings tied to train tracks wasn't actually a day in the life of a train conductor. You might recognize it as a variation of the classic thought experiment known as the trolley problem. It's a question about morals and ethics and personal responsibility, and the value of human life and how feelings guide our choices and how we're supposed to live righteously in a world full of horrible absurdities, and why don't they install better brakes than modern trains? In short, it's a question about philosophy. Philosophy is the study of hypothetical trolleys, but also other things like human nature, reality, and existence itself. The word philosophy actually means love of wisdom, and it comes to us from the Greek, just like lots of the earliest classical philosophers did. Greek philosophy dates all the way back to 600 BCE, and thinkers like Thales, Heraclitus, Plato, and Aristotle, though there are records of even earlier philosophical discussions in places like Mesopotamia, Egypt, and China. So it makes sense that a huge part of studying philosophy is learning about the history of philosophy and the works of all these classical old guys, plus newer philosophers like Noam Chomsky and Judith Butler too. We can learn a lot from the questions asked by philosophers past, even though those questions often don't have concrete answers. That's because in philosophy, the questioning is kind of the whole point. And as a student of philosophy, you can expect to be asking a lot of questions of your own about a bunch of different areas of philosophy. Like you might have metaphysical questions, which tackle the core nature of reality with questions like, is there a God? Or do we have free will? Or ethical questions about what we should or shouldn't do. Like what makes actions good or bad? Is there objective morality? Should I pull the lever? Then there's also epistemology, the study of knowledge itself, like, do we actually know anything at all? And then there's logic, which is about how we figure out the things we know if we do in fact know them. Even if we can't answer them, knowing how to grapple with questions like these can help us understand how systems and people got to be the way they are, and how we can shape them in the future. And when we're up against all these modern questions about privacy, censorship, human rights, how to allocate scarce resources, and whether it's cool to let AI drive all our trains, having the skills to weigh our options has never been more important. So if you love the love of wisdom, let's dive in and see what majoring in philosophy really looks like. If you're speeding down the track toward a future in philosophy, a degree in the subject should give you all the tools you need to drive that train without getting put on trial for manslaughter. You'll probably start off with some introductory courses to show you how to push all those buttons and levers, by which I mean read philosophical texts, discuss ideas with your classmates, and start to make arguments yourself, not crush varying numbers of strangers to a bloody pulp. You'll get oriented to those different domains we talked about, comparing ideas of philosophers from Socrates to Hannah Arendt, and using them to develop your philosophical perspective. And some programs might also have you take some foreign language courses, like Greek, Latin, French, or German, so you can understand those ideas and the languages they were written in. Once you've got some basics under your belt, you'll be ready to move on to higher level courses. This is where you might start to specialize a little bit and head down the tracks that really interest you. Like you might focus on metaphysics and get into stuff like free will and consciousness, or push past Western-centric philosophy and study Chinese philosopher Yang Zhu's thoughts on human nature, or how the Indian sage Yajnavalkya wrestled with good, evil, and karma. Some schools even offer unique concentrations within their philosophy programs, where you can zero in on one of those subfields of philosophy like logic, metaphysics, or ethics. But some schools have even more specific concentrations. Like a psychology concentration could give you a deeper look into thinkers like Sigmund Freud, and how philosophy interacts with our feelings and actions in everyday life. Or a political philosophy concentration can take you deeper into the philosophical basis of different social structures around the world. And if you're really into any of those secondary topics, you might even think about a double major. Philosophy pairs well with all kinds of other majors, from cognitive science and psychology and politics to things like biology, English, and even music. Wherever you put your focus, philosophers past and present have tons to teach you. And all throughout your major, you'll be adding your own thoughts to the mix, writing papers and developing ideas, and getting into heated arguments with your friends and classmates about how bad it is to hypothetically kill a hypothetical person tied to hypothetical railroad tracks. And that's just one of the many hypothetical things philosophers love to argue about. So if you're the kind of person who lives for wild debates about whether a hot dog is a sandwich or whether God is real, you will love philosophy. That's especially true if you love reading other people's arguments too. Philosophy is a rabbit hole major that encourages you to go deep into the ideas that interest you. It's great for people who question the status quo, who don't take things at face value, who see 100 sides to every problem and want to explain them all. It's also great for people who want to take on those big, complicated problems in the world around them. If you want to revamp your city government or tackle world hunger, philosophy can help you understand how our systems got to be the way they are, and how to build new ones that are more ethical, logical, and functional. And if you love trains, levers, and breaking all the bones in the bodies of strangers, it's great for that too. But philosophy definitely isn't for everyone. All those arguments and logic problems and complex thought spirals are going to happen mostly inside your head. So if you're into the hands-on science lab type of work or need concrete answers to sleep at night, philosophy might not be the field for you. Same goes for if you just don't like arguing, especially if you don't like reading arguments. Philosophy majors do a ton of reading, sometimes of really difficult texts, which, if it's not your vibe, can make the whole philosophy thing into kind of a Machiavellian nightmare. And of course, there's the age-old problem of philosophers everywhere, which is that thinking about all those big questions can get a little existential. And when you spend so much time thinking about the particulars of a universe where horrible things happen constantly, it can be hard not to get a little down about it. So if you'd rather not spend every day contemplating your mortality, or the terrible sins of your fellow man, or the fate of those poor folks on the train tracks, you might do better in some other field. But the good news is, if you end up feeling like philosophy is too academic, too hypothetical, or just too much of a bummer, there are plenty of other directions you could go. Like more sciencey types might find a good home in psychology or neuroscience. People who are into the more societal stuff might prefer politics or economics. If you're super into the historical context of all this thought, you might opt for a history major. Or if you want to study people in a less existential way, you might check out sociology or anthropology. Whatever direction you decide to go, you'll have the love of wisdom to back you up, and hopefully no innocent people to run over. Of course, the ultimate philosophical question is, what the hell can you do with a philosophy degree? A lot of people would answer nothing, but they aren't enlightened like you and me. Philosophy builds major skills in critical thinking, close reading, and communication. Stuff that sets you up for success in tons of different jobs. Those skills can help you score high on tests, present well in job interviews, or write emails with the articulate precision of Socrates, all of which can give you a leg up when it comes to almost anything. So if you do stick it out on the philosophy track, you'll have lots of career options at the end of the line. Like you could hop off at the station right after undergrad. With a bachelor's in philosophy, you could use your honed literacy skills to break into writing or editing for websites, magazines, or educational YouTube videos. Salaries for writers can vary a lot, but apparently they can make something like $73,000 a year as of 2023. If you know of a writing job that pays that much, the writer of this video would like to hear about it. Or you could turn your communication talents toward marketing and make use of your critical thinking skills too by analyzing consumer trends. Marketers and media specialists have an average starting salary of about $50,000, but with experience can make $150,000 a year. Or you could lean even harder into the data side of things and become a data analyst. These folks might start out only making something like $15 an hour, but over time, your attention to detail and ability to analyze trends can make you more like $83,000 a year. If none of those float your boat or steam power your train, you could hop right back on the philosophy trolley and go to even more school. Philosophy majors tend to score high on post-college standardized tests like the GRE, LSAT, and MCAT, which means you'll be set up for all kinds of higher education. With a higher level degree in philosophy, like a PhD, you can become a professor of philosophy at a college or university and make around $87,000, although you'll probably have to start out as an assistant professor making about $62,000. You could even switch to a related discipline like psychology or politics and go the professor route in a slightly different field. If you're willing to go back to school but don't want to be an academic, you could pull a different lever and take off toward law school, With a 1 or 2 year certificate program, you could become a paralegal, which is a starting salary of $40,000-ish, while experienced paralegals make around $61,000. Or you could go for a JD program and become a lawyer to make something like $145,000 if you work for a private firm. I'll let you debate the ethics of that, but you should know that public lawyers make significantly less, usually between $60,000 and $70,000 a year. Law school isn't the only option, though. You might be surprised to hear that a philosophy major can also be a great path toward med school. About 50% of philosophy majors who apply to med school get in, which is higher than more traditional pre-med majors like biology or chemistry. And as a doctor, you can make bank, from the average of around $240,000 to many hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, healing the broken bones and punctured internal organs of people mowed down by trains. Although, is it really ethical to profit so much off of the injuries of others? So is philosophy right for you? It's hard to say. What is right or wrong anyway? But if you're powered by the love of wisdom instead of coal and steam, it's at least worth thinking about. Logically, of course. And if you do decide to pull that philosophy lever, you probably won't regret it. Unless there happen to be people tied to the tracks, but at least you'll have the tools to figure out how unethical it is to run them over. If you want to investigate more degrees before you choose a major, check out our other videos in this playlist. To find out how to earn college credit with Study Hall, go to gostudyhall.com or click on the link here or in the description. And if you want to help us out, give this video a like and a comment to let us know how you chose your degree or what you wish you'd known before you started your degree. Thanks for watching!